Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to create neutral mixtures. What I'm using today is I'm using Windsor and Newton paints. These are gouache, and you can see these Windsor and Newtons are called the primary series. So what this means is each of these colors is balanced to give you a full range of color. So this is not really a cool red, it's not really a warm red, it's a neutral red. Same with the blue and the yellow. And the first thing I'm going to do is lay some of this color out. Now, I thought it would be interesting to kind of show you guys what's possible with a primary balanced set of paints in case you're on a super tight budget and you want to buy as few paints as possible and still be able to mix a very wide range of colors. So let's first lay these out. Put them here. And we'll just mix up our color and kind of establish where we're starting. So our red looks like this. So that's a primary red. Our yellow looks like this. Okay, if I mix my red and my yellow together, I'm gonna get a really true orange. Now, if you have some paints at home and you want to try this and you notice that one of your reds says alizarin crimson, that's a cool red. It's very purpley, and I'll show you that in another video. That's not going to give you this kind of orange. So the balanced primaries are designed to do what your elementary school teacher told you color was going to do, which was red and blue makes purple, and red and yellow makes orange, etc. Which, you know, sometimes you get some paints, and if it's a cool red and a warm blue and you mix them together, you might get more of a brown color than purple. So that's kind of more of an advanced idea with color mixing, and I'll definitely go into that later. But look, you can see, like, look at this. This is like the bluest blue, the greenest green. They're kind of like super basic colors. And then let's take our red. Let's see what the true test of a primary set is always to see if red and blue give you a nice purple. And holy smokes, it really does. So this Windsor Newton set of basic primaries in gouache really do give you a very nice set of colors. All right, and that's just with 3 tubes of paint, right? So I've got my primaries, red, yellow, blue. I've got my secondaries, orange, green, purple. And of course, you know, if you mix orange and yellow, you get a yellow orange, etc., etc. So you could just keep going. But what I want to focus on now is how do you tone these down? So you can see, and I'll hold this up a little bit so you can see it a little better. These colors are pretty intense. They're really bright. You know, they're kind of like the candy colors or like balloon colors, or the kind of colors that we don't often see when we're painting a portrait or painting a nature scene. Like if you're painting grass or trees or something like that, you're always going to need to tone those colors down. So a common color that we need to tone is green. So I'm going to start with a red-green primary, a primary red, secondary green mixture to show you how to make a neutral. So, right, I have this green and I have this red. Now watch, when I mix the green and the red together, look what happens. So if I mix them pretty equally, I get what's pretty close, voila, here we go, to a brown. Look at that. Red and green. So red and green are complements. They're across from each other on the color wheel. And so this is a red-green complement. And then, like I said, you can push that. So if I want it to be greener, I can take just a little bit of red. And if I take it down here, you can see that that green becomes more like a forest green or a green that we might see in nature, right? Okay, so let's see what happens if we do the second one. Let's do orange. Let me make up a little more orange here. Orange and blue. These colors that you mix through complementary mixtures are very useful in painting landscape, portrait, anything naturalistic. So there's orange blue. And then of course, we have yellow purple, which is one of my favorites. I guess I need to make some more purple. Got a little too excited. A beautiful color. It's bright. And you can see these neutrals are really different looking neutrals. So let's do something even cooler. So let me label these because perhaps it would be helpful. So this is red, green. This is blue, orange, and this is yellow, violet, or purple. I know it looks like I'm doing this sideways on the video, but I kind of like to work this way. All right, so if I take, let's go back to my red green. Let me add a little more red and red green it up. So now let's do something even neater. So I'm going to take some white. So if I mix white with this, with our red green, we start to get these really neutrally taupey colors. Let's do a little white to our blue orange. That one's a little more pink. And let's add some white to our violet and yellow mixture. If I hold these up, you can see all of those beautiful neutral colors, right? So this is the green with a little more green, a little less red. So you can always change the percentages, right? So these up here, these are 50-50, 50% red, 50% green, 50% blue, 50% orange, 50% yellow, 50% violet. But if you alter it, right? So this is a little more green with just a little smidge of red, we get that forest green color. Same thing. If I take my blue, which is like a very bright, like this blue is bright. This is a bluey blue. So let's take just a little tiny bit of this orange. Let's turn to dry. And look at that. That is like a fabulous color. Fabulous color. And let's like have even more fun with it. And now let's add some white to it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Look at that blue. So you start to really get a range here, right? So likewise, before I had talked about tones, which is when you add a little ivory black. So we can do that here too. So a lot of times students make the mistake of adding black to darken a color. When what they really want to do is lower the color's like brightness. Like you don't want this bright, bright red, right? You want something a little more toned down. Using these neutral mixtures is a better way to do that before you just go automatically to that black. But if you use black well and you use it properly, you can create really beautiful, moody colors that aren't overpowered by the black. It lets the black do what it wants to do, right? Because it's a color, and the color has a lot of properties. See, this is that same light blue, but I toned it a little bit with just a little tiny bit of ivory black, and you can see that now it's like a really pretty dusty blue, as opposed to just adding white to our toned or neutralized blue here. So there's a lot of different ways to get a range of effects in your colors: lightening, darkening, neutralizing, and all of them should be used in your painting practice. One thing that I like to suggest, so if this is something new to you and you haven't been taught this, is just lay out a bunch of color like I have here and start to play with all of the different kinds of colors that you can mix and see how many you can come up with. I found that if you do this, what I'm doing here, this is called swatching, to experiment with color, you'll actually really expand your color vocabulary very quickly because you don't have the pressure of trying to make a painting. So if you're trying to expand your range with color while you're trying to paint a portrait or while you're trying to paint a landscape or anything else, you're going to have the double problem of trying to represent this idea that's in your head along with this notion of experimenting with the color. If you just remove everything except for the color and just experiment with the color, you can have a lot of fun just seeing how much mileage can you get out of 3 balanced primaries plus white and black. So have some fun with that. Give it a try. No pressure. It's a little bit meditative too, so it's a nice way to just spend an afternoon while you're listening to the radio.